Finally have it, the official Cleveland Browns 2024 schedule. We're going to break it all down right now. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd, and I appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. The everyday crowd keeps growing and growing. Don't miss out. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel, and you will not miss anything. Every show is always available on your favorite podcast app. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Of course, terms apply. It is here. It is official. Browns put out the video with a nice 70s vibe from the bowling alley, announcing the 2024 schedule. Week 1, we knew, opening up against the Dallas Cowboys. Week 2, traveling down to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. Week 3, the New York Giants come to Cleveland. Week 4, in Vegas for the Raiders. Week 5, in Washington to face the Commanders. Week 6, a trip to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, for the Philadelphia Eagles. Week 7, home Cincinnati Bengals. Week 8, home Baltimore Ravens. Week 9, home Los Angeles Chargers. Later bye this year. Week 10 for the Cleveland Browns will be on the bye week. Week 11, a trip down to New Orleans to face the Saints. Week 12, Thursday night football against Pittsburgh Steelers. Week 13, a Monday night affair with the Denver Broncos. Right back at it, Week 14 with your trip to Pittsburgh. Week 15, the Kansas City Chiefs come to town. Week 16, a second Thursday night game with the Cincinnati Bengals. Week 17, home, nice draw of the Miami Dolphins. Week 17, Week 18 on the road to close out the 2024 regular season against the Baltimore Ravens. First glimpse of this is probably the beginning part here. The Browns probably going to want to get fat early because it's going to get really tight down the stretch for this team. Dallas comes in. If anybody saw or heard, I talked earlier today about this, the myth basically of strength of schedule and trying to, pump it up. Look, there's so much roster change in the NFL. You can't, and then of course injuries, new personnel, new coaches, so much changes in the NFL from one offseason to the next. Strength of schedule is a great way to get people to buy in. The NFL gets people to eat it up like, they're your favorite snack, but it truly, doesn't necessarily apply, in my opinion. The Dallas Cowboys, for me, are one of the bigger reasons that I think strength of schedule is a myth. They are a good football team. I don't know if they're nearly as good as this team was last season. Jacksonville Jaguars, we saw the Jaguars this past season. They came to Cleveland. Browns, in turn, will be traveling to Jacksonville this year. Some thought it would possibly be a London game. It is not. It will be down in Jacksonville. Obviously, a nice weather game in week 2. Probably warm temperatures as the Browns go down to Jacksonville to face them. Week 3, the New York Football Giants come. So then you have the Raiders on the road in week 4, Washington week 5 on the road, week 6 on the road. So that's a 3-game road stretch there, week 4, week 5, week 6. So those first 6, Dallas, Jacksonville, the Giants, the Raiders, the Commanders, and the Eagles, that's going to be a big stretch for this football team because you look at the back end of this schedule and, there's a lot of playoff teams and contending teams of the last few years that will be involved in that part. So the Browns, it'll be crucial for them to get off to a big, big start in the beginning part. You think about some of these teams, Jacksonville had some turnover, lost Ridley, trying to, reestablish themselves after being a playoff team 2 seasons ago. 2022. So in 2022, 23, they kind of fell apart there down the end. The Giants, who knows? I mean, everybody just anticipated they were going to do something to the quarterback position. Daniel Jones is their guy. The Raiders, it could be a situation where they go with the young guy at quarterback in O'Connell? Do they go with Gardner Minshew? So drawing the Raiders on the road week 4, I have already heard from a lot of Browns fans who, reached out to me and basically said that they have marked that, no doubt, no questions, that is going to be a road trip that they are thinking about making, which was the whole point of the NFL trying to establish themselves in Las Vegas. Number one is already a big, big destination spot for vacation. They're going to always draw well in Vegas because it'd be a great chance for teams to go there for a road game. Number one, you get to experience everything Las Vegas has to offer. The other thing is you get to see your football team play in that absolutely gorgeous building out there in Vegas. Washington is a team you probably want earlier in the season than later in the season. A lot of newness in Washington, had a really good draft, had a pretty good free agent class as well. You want to get them while they're still trying to work everything out necessarily. You don't want to get them when Washington, hopefully, when they think everything's going to start to gel together, probably mid to later on in the season, that's a team you would rather be playing in the first stretch of the season rather than the latter part of the season. Philadelphia Eagles, the trip to Philadelphia week 6. This is probably one I'm going to find my way into the building. I'm not very far from Philadelphia. I have a lot of Eagle fan contingents, so probably a game that is probably marked for me as one that I want to get to. The Eagles, it really fizzled apart last year. A lot of it had to do with the injuries, of course, to Jalen Hurts. And you could see it. And I know sometimes I talked about it with some other football fans. You could see Jalen Hurts was hurting probably midway through the season and even by like the end of November. And Philadelphia did nothing to help the guy out. They just kept calling for him to keep the ball in his hands. They were calling a lot of design run plays, which in my opinion, I thought was really unfair. The guy was gutting it out. He was trying to give you everything he could. Least you could have done is you let him throw the ball or run the ball traditionally and give your guy the best chance. Biggest thing to me that kind of stands out about this first 6 games is the Browns have 4 games with the NFC East this year. By week 6, they're done. Dallas 1, Giants 3, Washington 5, Philly 6. They are done with the NFC East by week 6. But the key to that is if they can handle business against the NFC East, that is going to be a big, big thing for them as far as establishing momentum as they start to get into a little bit tougher part of the schedule and certainly division play and getting to those primetime games and closing it out in that big, crucial last 5 to 6 games. That December slate is a tough one. So the Browns, it's going to be crucial to probably make some hay, get out of the gate early. I had a lot of questions last year whether or not they were going to be able to do that with all the newness on the defensive side of the ball. They hit the ground running. That was a great thing for this team, and it was maybe unexpected. For the Browns this year, getting out of the gate strong on both offense and defense will be expected because they need to have a solid record after these first 6 games. We're going to get to the mid part of the Browns 2024 schedule. I appreciate you all for being around. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. We've had experiences. My wife, my girls, they love going to concerts. But look, you got to know who you're working with, and you got to be careful who you're buying your tickets from because you may end up on the wrong side of the venue, meaning you're outside and not inside. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets. I can't lie to you. I just told you, looking at that Eagle game, knowing the proximity to where I live, that is probably something I am looking for, that I probably want to get in the building, go see the Brownies, and certainly, hopefully, they can pull out a big road victory in Philly. For you guys, throw some messages in the comments, throw me something on social media. Let me know some games that you're looking to get to. Look, it's easy to find and buy NFL tickets and for every kind of event in your area. So go ahead and check out Game Time. They got views from the seats in the venue. They got the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection. Heck, they even have job loss protection. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. They put that there for a reason because they stand by it. They have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This is Jeff Lloyd, your host of Locked On Browns. I appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every day. Join the everyday crowd by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. We got to the first part of the Browns schedule. We're going to talk about the big, difficult part of the final part of the schedule. We talked the mid-schedule here of the 2024 Cleveland Browns schedule. Check the video out on the Browns YouTube page. Went with like the 1970s bowling alley type vibe to it. Really did a nice job with it. The NFL and their social teams are really starting to pick this up and embrace this type of stuff. And fans eat it up. I eat it up. You want to see what teams are going to come with. Week 7. It is the first appearance between the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. There was a lot of chatter about whether or not this was going to be a Christmas game. There are some AFC North teams playing on Christmas. The Cleveland Browns will not be one of them. First taste of the Cincinnati Bengals, Week 7 at home. Joe Burrow, 1-5 in his career against the Cleveland Browns. Week 8, you get the Baltimore Ravens. So there's going to be a big gap in these Ravens games. Week 8 and then Week 18. But the Ravens will come to Cleveland. They will come to Cleveland. Week 8. A lot of newness to the Baltimore Ravens. So you're going to see how quickly that team can gel with all the new moving parts that have been assembled down in Baltimore. Week 9. Jim Harbaugh comes to Cleveland after all of his years up in Ann Arbor, all his time in the NFL, and then now coming back to the NFL yet again. The Chargers come in. It's going to be Justin Herbert. It's going to be a team that's going to look to run the ball. It's going to look to be the team that's going to play some good defense. It's going to be interesting to see where Jim Harbaugh is at when he comes back to the NFL with the Los Angeles Chargers. He was not doing a lot of modern-day college football in his days up in Ann Arbor. You got a player like Justin Herbert. You cannot just kind of make him a game manager and just have him throw when you need him to. You got to let the big boy go and eat. And hopefully on that day, it's a day where he doesn't eat and he's in the arms of Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, Alex Wright, Ogbonnaya Okoronkwo, and many others. A little bit later by this week, and this is the perfect sweet spot, in my opinion, for a bye. You're going to get 9 games in. You're going to get that bye week, and then you're going to get your final 8. So perfectly placed for the Browns. They got lucky this year with the draw of their bye week here in Week 10. So they get the nice relaxation. And then if there's any other trip besides Vegas, that's probably going to be one that fans want to flock to. Week 11 down in New Orleans. I am already looking forward to talking to my channel coordinator, Mr. Ross Jackson, for the crossover that week. Ross Jackson, Number One, you are a great person to work with and work for. Number 2, Ross Jackson, I hope the Cleveland Browns come down to New Orleans Week 11 and beat the living daylights out of your ball club. Saints are going to be interesting. It's starting to fall apart from where they were a playoff team every single year. There's a lot going on in New Orleans, and this team is trying to reestablish themselves within that NFC South division. Week 12, so it's going to be a short week. It's going to be a trip to New Orleans. You're going to get back as fast as you possibly can. You're going to rest up, take a practice field on Wednesday, and then we are going to tee it up on Thursday night for Thursday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. By this time in Week 12, is it Russell Wilson? Is it Justin Fields? Is neither of them working out? Who knows? Pittsburgh Steelers, that's going to be the biggest question about how this season goes for them. A lot of pieces kind of are in place, drafted a lot of offensive linemen here. Do those guys get themselves in place early, or is it going to take them some time? And is Russell Wilson, is Justin Fields, are either one of these guys going to be able to give this team sustainable quarterback play in the 2024 season? Look, neither guy was getting it done in Denver or in Chicago. So it's not like the Steelers got this big win by getting Russell Wilson here or tipping their toes into the water for Justin Fields, who essentially is only under contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers for 1 season. So who even knows? Does Russ play well enough to keep the job? Do they play Justin Fields because they want to know what they got before they decide whether or not they're going to commit to him long term? So that is going to be an interesting one. Then, and this is now, it's nice. Now keep this in mind. The Browns have the Week 10 bye. Week 12, they play a Thursday night game. Now they get a nice respite once again. Week 13, you have a Monday night game in Denver against the Broncos. Look, it didn't go well in Denver last year, obviously, but keep in mind several factors. You did not have Deshaun Watson. DTR started that game. And in my opinion, if DTR finished that game in Denver last year, the way he was starting to heat up, he had that great drive to start the second half. Remember, he took that hellacious hit that knocked him out. But I tell you, if DTR finished that game in Denver last year, and I will say it one time, I'll say it 1,000 times, the Browns would have won that game in Denver if DTR was able to finish. Then you come right back, short week essentially, but you come right back, and then you make your trip to Pittsburgh. So you got the Steelers November 21st and December 16th. So it is quick. I'm sorry, 6th. It is quick right away. It is bang, bang. The Pittsburgh Steelers twice in 3 weeks, a primetime game on a Thursday night. You wait the week and a half. You play the Monday nighter in Denver, and then short week right back at it. You're on the buses, and you're down to Pittsburgh. Week 15, the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm sure the first thing everybody's wondering, does Tay-Tay make a trip to Cleveland? Or is there going to be a Taylor Swift sighting in Cleveland when the Chiefs come to town on December 19th? We'll see. Then, right after the Chiefs, and look, this isn't an easy one by any means whatsoever. You're going to play the Kansas City Chiefs at home on Sunday. And look, it is a very short trip, as we all know, of the trips the Browns have to make. But week 16, Thursday night, you are headed back to Cincinnati. You were headed to Cincinnati on a short week to face the Bengals. So that at that point, you would have not seen the Bengals since week 7. You will see the Bengals once again, week 16, Thursday night football. Week 17, the Miami Dolphins come to town. Perfect time, in my opinion, for the Dolphins. Absolutely perfect time to get the Dolphins. It should be nice and chilly in Cleveland by then. South Florida, South Beach team. You saw the way this team, and look, in Kansas City in the playoffs, that was crazy, crazy cold. It certainly could be a possibility in Cleveland. There is no doubt about it. It certainly could be a possibility. But I would rather, if I am getting the Dolphins, I want them in late December, not in September. And then we're going to close it out. The final Sunday of the NFL regular season. Obviously, there's a million ways this game can go. Could be flexed. A million things could happen. But the final game for the Cleveland Browns in the 2024 regular season is a trip to Baltimore. And God knows the implications that that game could have. Could the division be on the line? Certainly playoff berth could be on the line. So huge, huge one to close out the regular season when you face the Baltimore Ravens down in Baltimore. We're going to try to pick through this here. Maybe just get some thoughts, early thoughts, before I get into a little deeper about wins and losses. But your latest Locked On Browns continues. We finally have it. We have a 2024 schedule. Nobody go anywhere. Come on back for segment 3. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. I am Jeff Lloyd, and I appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. The everyday crowd is fantastic, and if you are not part of it, you are missing out. Easiest way to join the club is subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, with any schedule, there becomes keys, and I have 3 keys that I think I have established. We know division play is huge, and for the Browns, it starts with a little taste early. Week 7 at home against the Bengals. Week 8 at home against the Ravens. But week 11, you are going to Pittsburgh. Week 12, you are home for Pittsburgh. Week 14, you are at Pittsburgh. Week 16, you are in Cincinnati. And week 18, you are in Baltimore. The Browns are going to have their final 3 division games on the road. Their final 3 AFC North games will be on the road. That is not a very easy task. It's just not. So it's a tough draw that way. It truly is. But you want to be a team that goes to the playoffs for 2 seasons in a row, you find a way, Chris Berman style, to circle the wagons and get it done. No excuses. You're a good team. You were a playoff team. You're looking to go back to the playoffs. You played the hand that you were dealt. The other thing is your NFC East. You have 4 of those games in the first 6. When the Browns last played the NFC East in 2020, they swept them, won all 4 games. I'm not saying you can do that again in 2024, but the NFC East and the Browns' play and record against the NFC East in 2024 is going to be pretty vital. Is going to be pretty vital to the overall success of the 2024 season. You get to this stretch of week 12 through 18. Week 12, at home for Pittsburgh, playoff team last year. Week 13, Monday night game in Denver. Denver may not be that great, but you lost to the Denver Broncos last year. Week 14, Pittsburgh Steelers, playoff team. Week 15, Kansas City Chiefs, not even a playoff team, a Super Bowl champion for many times over. So week 16, everybody kind of thought the Bengals were going to be a playoff team last year if the injuries did not happen to Joe Burrow. So we know the Bengals are tough. We know the Bengals are competitive. Week 17, Miami Dolphins, playoff team last year. Week 18, Baltimore Ravens, playoff team last year. These are some really difficult things that stand out with this schedule. Your key against the NFC East games 1, 3, 5, and 6. Your division play, first 3 division games at home. You really got to try and go 3-0 in those games. And then you set yourself up to say, look, what can we steal the second time we go play these teams at their buildings? The AFC West and the Browns' success against them, it's going to be vital, but these games are all over the place. Week 3, you go to Vegas. Week 9, the Chargers come to town. Week 13, you go to Denver. Week 15, you get the Chiefs. So those AFC West games, yes, they are extremely important, but you're not getting them stacked the way you are the NFC East, and certainly the way your division games broke down, where you're playing the first 3 at home and the last 3 division games on the road. So all in all, and again, the strength of schedule, and look, you can look at these games. The December games could be cake by the time we get there. We know the war of attrition that the NFL season is. So there's always teams that just the injury bug gets them and gets them hard. But you look at it now and you know what these teams were the season before. So there is a lot on the table here. We finally have it. We can finally start to put, a little bit more focus and detail into the content that we put out on a day in, day out basis. So I am really excited. And for anybody, I don't care about schedule release. I don't care about strength of schedule. I actually care about the physical schedule, because I want to sit here, and when I come out here tomorrow, and most likely we'll have Pete Smith here, we'll start breaking this down into how we see the Browns getting to 11 wins. That's what we do. But until the way you see it out, and, people always, there's no trap game. There's no trap game in his schedule. This is the NFL, for God's sakes. There's no trap games. Anybody can beat anybody any given day. We all know that. So you got to go out, and you got to be the best presentation of yourself week in, week out in this league. This league is no joke, and you got to be ready to go every time you take the field. Browns get to start at home. They end on the road. It's, again, that last brutal stretch of the 3 final division games on the road. That's something for me that, it's really going to be interesting. This team is going to have to be everything they think it can be. This team is going to have to get that quarterback play from Deshaun Watson that they think they acquired. We now need to see it. This young man, Deshaun's got to go out there. He has got to take what the defense gives him. The mistakes got to be limited. And one other thing I did not get to and I wanted to is, you look at that tough stretch in December. The one thing that maybe gives me a little bit more hope about that tough stretch is you should have Batman back in the building, Nick Chubb toting the rock for this Cleveland Browns team late in the season. So you're going to get a nice, probably halfway through the season, Nick Chubb back into the fold, which would be absolutely vital for this franchise. So that is it pretty much, and this is how it all breaks down. I'm excited. I know you guys are excited. Everybody's going to start doing record predictions. All you guys, my man Brown Spider, who loves to travel, he's probably booking what games he's going to be able to tend to and can hook up with all his fellow Brown fans. This, for me, becomes the official part of it. Free agency is great. The draft, I love them all to death. But now, once we have an official schedule, we can start putting it all together and really, really starting to focus on September 8th, 425, and the Browns kick off at home against the Dallas Cowboys. Tom Brady, color commentary for that game. And did you see the bad news for Greg Olsen? Greg Olsen takes the hit back to number 2 color commentary guy and takes a $7 million loss. NFL is a tough, tough business, and it certainly is not just tough on the field. It is tough in the broadcast booth as well. We're going to continue to break it down for the rest of the week. We're going to talk a lot more about this 2024 schedule. I am Jeff Lloyd. I appreciate the daylights out of everybody that make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. The everyday crowd, you're a bunch of filthy animals, but you're my filthy animals. Be like the filthy animals and subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcast. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound 2024 schedule release. And we had a really, really good time with it. So this has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.